Hey, and welcome to my channel. My name is Helen Miller, and this is Head to Heart Living, how to live a life less from fear and more from love. Now, you might have heard the chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's a super powerful Buddhist chant, and over 12 million people around the world chant this on a daily basis. And I have been chanting it for many, many years. Now, I made this video because I made a short recently and I was having a bit of a meltdown on a run in a park. I went into a totally emotional space and put myself under a tree. I started breathing slowly and then I chanted this mantra 3 times and felt instantly better. Like seriously, instantly. That's how fast it works. It doesn't always work like that. It works very deeply with your life and your life's connection to the universe. And I'm going to explain more about that. But the power of it is insane. And so I'd like you to be able to understand a little bit more about what it means, how it works, and then you can give it a go in your own life. So if that sounds interesting, stay with me. If you've got any questions as we go through about chanting, about how it works, then feel free to put them in the chat. So Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So Buddhism, you may think of Shakyamuni Buddha, who is the big Buddha that everyone thinks of if they think about Buddhism, but there have been loads of Buddhas, lots and lots and lots. And Shakyamuni Buddha is said to be the original Buddha, and other Buddhas were him in different form, but like that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to go into that right now. So Shakyamuni Buddha preached over like 40,000 sutras in his lifetime, but the last sutra that he preached for 8 years, and that was the Lotus Sutra. And he said all the other sutras were getting you ready to understand this. Now, if you've been with my channel for a while, you know that I talk about spiritual awakening quite a lot, especially those who've had a big awakening in the last 2 years. So when you may realize, if you then try and awaken other people, that what they need to hear, or the way that we need to hear it, or things that you may have been told before you started to wake up didn't resonate, or you weren't able to really hear them or get them. So this is what Shakyamuni discovered when he was trying to spiritually enlighten a whole load of people many thousands of years ago, is that he realized when he achieved enlightenment, he had to tell people things in stages. And this was why he was building up to the Lotus Sutra. So in the 12th century in Japan, there was this man studying Buddhism, this young boy, this teenager, who couldn't understand why all the different schools of Buddhism were fighting. So he went off and decided to study all the sutras by himself to understand who was right and how to practice and how to live correctly. And he came back and he said, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the thing. So Myoho Renge Kyo is the name of the Lotus Sutra, which was this final sutra that the Shakyamuni Buddha preached. And in Japan, Nichiren decided, through his intense study for many years on his own in isolation, that the Lotus Sutra was the most important sutra, and that was the main thing to study. But he also said it was really difficult to understand the complexity of it, and this is why Shakyamuni has been building up to it for all his life, or all of his life since reaching enlightenment. And this is why we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, because it is the title of the sutra. And Nichiren said it is an invocation. So in the same way, when you go and you exercise or you go to the gym, you don't have to know what every single piece of your anatomy is doing in order to receive the benefit of the exercise. You don't need to be able to become a brain surgeon or a physical therapist in order to get the benefit of going for a run or dancing or lifting weights or whatever your thing is. It's the same when we chant. We don't have to understand and completely be able to grasp the complexity of the Lotus Sutra in order to get the benefit, which is brilliant, right? And as we chant, our understanding of life, not only of how we're chanting and what we're chanting, of life itself becomes deeper and broader and more expansive. At least that has been my experience. I don't know what it's like for everyone else because I don't live between their ears or in their sphere. So another way of putting this is a bit like Einstein's theory of relativity. So he depicted this as E equals mc squared. But it is like a huge concept that has profound meanings about how we live and how we understand life and the universe and all of that complexity. And if you're a scientist, you know, as you progress through your study of science, this equation will mean more and more to you. At least I assume it will. So it's the same thing with Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. But I'm going to go through it and give you an overview. And then I'm going to tell you what each word means and then how it works together. And then give you some next steps that if you want to give it a go, where this can take you. Okay, so Nam Myoho Renge Kyo essentially means, Myoho Renge Kyo means the mystic law of the Lotus Sutra. And this also, people say that it means I dedicate my life. This is how I was initially taught to it. It says, I said, what does it mean? I said, I dedicate my life to the law of cause and effect. So I'll go deeper into this. And essentially what that means, dedicating your life to law of cause and effect, is taking full responsibility for your life. This is something we don't see in society anymore. We see politicians blaming whatever party was in before them. We see, people scribbling and, or blaming it on this, that, and the other. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up, whoever's in the live chat. But we don't see people, or I've had some people going, oh, why bother, Helen? When I was massive, I was still into recycling, but I was massively into recycling. And people would say, like, what does one can matter, Helen? Stop carrying it around till you find a recycling bin. Just put it in the bin. I'd be like, no, I want to recycle it. One can matters. But it does. Like, we take, you can take everything to an extreme, but essentially, when we take full responsibility for our life, that is how the world changes. That is how we disempower the systems that we don't like. And that is how we affect change. And it is the disbelief in our own power to affect change that keeps the world in the state it's in. And the world, the universe has run out of patience with this. It's ready to shift. It's ready to change. It's saying no more. And this is why this mantra is so important at this time, because it can really help you step into your power, your sovereignty, and understand what that is, not just from a catchphrase point of view, but from a really deep, fundamental, profound, throughout lifetimes point of view. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. The universe agrees. So this is what Nichiren said about this mantra. Okay, this is a quote. This law is the master of all Buddhas of the past, present, and future, the teacher of all bodhisattvas in the universe, and the guide that enables all human beings to attain Buddhahood. It is a practice that is incomparably profound even. So this is what Nichiren said when he realized after all his years of study that this was the thing. This was essentially how to practice Buddhism. Caveat, if you practice Buddhism and you practice a different type of Buddhism, then great, like fantastic. I'm not here to argue the toss between how to practice. If you have a practice, if you're a Christian, if you see the world differently, then absolutely go for it. As you know, if you watch my channel, I speak about many different ways to understand the universe, to speak about spirituality. There are many ways up the mountain of enlightenment. And this is one way that I have worked with intensely for years. And I want to share it because I was asked to. I was asked to by somebody. I mentioned it in a video. How do I do that? Here it is. What does it mean? Here's the video. Great. So, Nam, right? First word. Myoho Renge Kyo is the title of the Lotus Sutra. Nam means to... It's a verbal contraction of Namu. which essentially means that you put before deities as a sign of worship, or to dedicate, or to devote, or to serve. And so it's essentially saying, I dedicate my life to the Lotus Sutra or the mystic law. This is something that I am practicing, I am following. Great. Easy first word. Myoho, slightly more complex. It's a brilliant book that I've put a link below in the notes to, called The Buddha in Daily Life. This book is like phenomenal. I've read it so many times. I've highlighted it. The covers are falling off. I've stuck them on with sellotape. It's a brilliant, brilliant book. There's about 60 pages just on what I'm making this video about. So if you want to go deeper, if you want to get loads of like life examples and stories about people who've changed like phenomenal things, this is also called the Miracle Mantra by other YouTube videos and other people's experiences. So this book really sort of unpacks that, but it unpacks it on a deep level, so you get why and how it works. And I can't do that all in this one video, but that book's amazing. It's in the link below, and it was just 11:11 when I said that. Okay, see, signs are everywhere. Myoho Renge Kyo is essentially the mystic law. So Myo means mystic, and Ho means manifest. So it's the unseen aspects of life, all of the spiritual stuff that we generally don't talk about or think about. And Ho is it manifesting, it coming into reality. It is the practicalities of daily life. And this is why when you cut yourself off from any understanding of God, the universe, spirituality, the unseen, the mystic in life, you're only living a tiny percentage of the equation that is operating. And that is when we get stuck. That is often where we can suffer more, or we can really close off from our heart, because it is our heart that is the portal that connects us to all this unseen stuff, because love is the currency this universe is based on. And when we cut off from here, we get a lot of stuff that isn't love playing out, right? Look at if you think that sounds like nonsense, walk in a field, walk in the woods, look at the sea. What do you see? You see beauty. You see love in action. And that's what we are. And that's what we need to come back to. And the more we come back to that, the more we stop creating crappy karma, the more we stop having, the easier it is to start to clear out our suffering and change the reality that exists for us. Okay. So Myo also means to open. It means enlightenment. It means perfection. It means fully endowed. It is also this unseen aspect. It is the potential. It is also death, because within death, it contains life. In death, there is the potential, there is the darkness for life. The womb is a dark void, but it contains the potential for life. And then Ho is the manifest. It is the baby. It is the physicality. But as soon as something is physicalized, it starts to decay. The moment that we are born, we are moving towards death. But then death contains the cycle for life. So this is why Myoho, life and death, unseen and seen, manifest and mystic and unmanifest, they are connected. It is the cycle of life. We are constantly moving from death into life and life into death. From the moment we wake up, we're moving towards the end of the day. And as soon as we go to bed, we are moving towards dawn. It is this cycle, this never-ending time without beginning is a fundamental principle of Buddhism. We can't comprehend it because we think of time in linear, in a line. But as the pyramids in Egypt and the Incas drew, they do like past, present, and future as 3 lines on top of each other. In shamanic culture, we talk about when you heal with plant medicine, you heal 7 generations in the future and 7 generations in the past. It's the same when you chant this mantra. You're said to be clearing karma from 7 generations in the past, 7 generations in the future, because all time is now. It is on top of each other. Multi-dimensional all connected. And this is why we can find it so difficult to comprehend why crap can happen to people, or why bad things happen to good people, or whatever labels you put on things. Buddhism is a lot less about labels, because we cannot fathom the complexity of the mystic law. Like, it is, the universe is incredible. Okay, so that's Myoho. So you're chanting, I dedicate my life to this mystic cycle of potentiality, life and death, opening and transcending and enlightenment, and that's that. And then Renge means lotus flower. Now, you think of Buddhism, you think of a lotus flower, right? It's everywhere. It's on menus, it's tattoos, it's the thing. It's because it's deeply symbolic. And what does it symbolize? The simultaneity. There, we got it. Simultaneousness, essentially, of cause and effect. And this is because the lotus flower is the only flower that seeds and fruits at the same time. So this takes away from the linear stuff. Like, you can achieve enlightenment like that, and like that. Yes, that. Are we all enlightened now? And it is this instant. It's not like you practice for so long and then you become enlightened. Like, it says that Shakyamuni realized he'd always been enlightened, that we are all already enlightened. We've just forgotten. So we can wake up at any split second. And I'm sure your awakening process, if you're watching, if we all have them. Well, some people have had more of them than others, as they say, but it happens in a split second. Pretty much. Penny dropping is a momentary thing, right? And it also, the lotus flower, it grows in a swamp, right? It doesn't grow in some beautiful field. It grows in muddy mud. And this is the symbol that no matter how crap, how much like a sewer your life is, you can transform it to something of absolute beauty. And in fact, it is the swamp that is needed for the flower to grow. The lotus flower doesn't grow without that mud. There's an analogy when a boy walks into a stable and it's just full of manure. And he says, with this much shit in here, there's got to be a pony somewhere. And it's so, I like that, you're having a really bad day. It's like, this karma, whatever, what existential crisis of 2022, is it ever going to end? Just this, because we're transforming all this stuff inside, right? That's what we're doing. It's part of the ascension. It's part of the awakening. It's part of the process. And indeed, when you start chanting, sometimes like amazing things just start happening like that. Like, oh my God, everything, synchronicity. And sometimes it's like everything just falls apart. And it's like the analogy I was given. It's like a tube that's been lying in the garden for like months and no one's turned the hose on. Like, it's just been lying there, and you turn the hose on and suddenly all this water's splurting out. But first of all, it's got to splurt out all this mud and all the dead leaves that have been clogging up the hose so that the water can pour through freely. Same way, sometimes when you start chanting, all this crap starts happening in your life, because you have to start really your life starts to reconfigure from its very base to shift stuff. Yeah, so I've had the same experience working shamanically, working with different things, but this is why it's not always, unicorns and rainbows when you start to wake up and take responsibility for your life and change your karma and clear all the baggage, all that stuff. And karma manifests in different ways. So is that what I meant? Yeah. So essentially, when we start chanting, we're starting to create causes for our life. We're starting to take action. We're starting to shift things in the unseen aspect, in this myo aspect when we're chanting. And that's why with like, our left brain, we're thinking we're just sitting there making sounds, you're not doing anything. We do have to take action as well, because we've got myo and ho. We've got to take the unseen action, which is the chanting, getting your mind, you could think of it as getting your mind set right, or clearing the calm, or getting the clarity, tapping into that deepest or highest consciousness, or your Buddhahood, or your ninth consciousness, in order to really understand the best actions. It's not coming from the mind. This is all moving a bit fast for you. Bear with me. Some aspect of you is getting it. Maybe you're like, yeah, Helen, get on with it. Either way. And then the ho, then you take action. But if you just go straight into taking action, if you're taking it from that same level of consciousness that you created the problem or you're stuck with, you're going to have to knock on a lot of doors before one opens, or you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince, or whatever analogy you want. Maybe I'm getting frogs from the swamp that the lotus flower is growing in. So this is why it's a combined. This is how Buddhism explains the simultaneity of everything, and this is how we start to change our karma, because as we start to chant, it starts to purify these aspects that we've been operating through, these layers of veils of like delusion, of not being able to fully clearly see reality, which is what Buddhism is supposed to be about. You practice Buddhism and to fully awaken and see the truth of what life is. And as we chant, it's said that we clear these veils away and we start to see things as they really are, which is obviously what I talk about a lot on this channel. So Kyo, moving on from Renge, the lotus flower, Kyo is Sutra. It means Sutra, which is teaching. It means the voice or teaching of Buddha. And if you think of the voice of Buddha, well, that means sound. And so that is why it is chanting. It is the vibration. And if you've been following me for a while, I speak about quantum physics and this sense that waves of light, like everything is vibration, everything is frequency. And this is the way that I actually got into it, was because I never meditated. I told everybody if I fall asleep if I tried to meditate, and I never stopped to be still when I met this practice. I now meditate a lot, but what I loved about it was that it was active. Like, you keep your eyes open and you chant and you make sound, and you didn't have to try and not think or whatever it might be, or my misunderstanding of what meditation was. And this is really helpful. And so this is the sound, the vibration, and this is because everything is connected when we chant. Everything is connected in life. And when we're chanting, we're making the sound of the universe. We're making the sound, as Nichiren said, this invocation of the very core of this understanding of the universe and how everything works. And we're calling out to the Buddhas of all the directions. In one of the metaphors I love about this chant, it's like, before you start chanting, you're like a bird in a cage, right? You've got this cage of all the baggage and karma and your crappy life or whatever it is around you that you're stuck and it's keeping you trapped. So you start singing, start chanting, and all the birds who are free outside the cage come and they chant, they sing with you until you feel all their power, and then you're able to fly out of the cage. And essentially, it's like, chanting, you might be chanting on your own, you might be chanting with people, and it gives you that life force. It's one of the benefits of chanting. It gives you a lot of energy, it gives you a lot of dynamism, it gives you a lot of it really connects you to your inner like fire and passion. And so that we can break through those problems, so that be like, have the mental like, this isn't gonna get me down, like, yeah, it's an obstacle, but I'm going to get through it, rather than I notice when I don't chant, I'm like, oh, it's an obstacle, and I'm just going to like crawl up and fall asleep at the bottom of this big wall, and it's going to fall down and crush me. And I'm like, right, how am I going to strategize this? Let's go. And at the moment, I'm finding I need to chant more because my mindset isn't as robust and resilient as it is when I chant. So hopefully that has given you a deeper insight into what Nam Myoho Renge Kyo means, how it came to be, why millions of people all over the world chant. And I'm not promoting any particular practice. There's many different practices about who chant this practice. You can do it by yourself. You don't have to do it with a group. You can if you want to. But what I really recommend, if you want to take this further, I put 2 links below. One is to get that book by Richard Corsten, which is just bloody excellent. It's really good, called The Buddha in Daily Life. And the second is a link so you can hear the sound of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo being chanted out loud. I'll do 3 to close it. And please, what I'd love you to do, if you're still with me, put in the comments below if you've chanted before, if you've tried it, what your experience has been, what your thoughts are, and if you've got anything from this video. I will be back next week with another video. And thank you so much for being here. Sending you so much love. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. There you go. Hmm.